What's up, everyone? This is Dave again, back with Black Label Painting. So now that this thing's had time to dry, we're going to go ahead and remove some of the paint and get down and see how well the stencil worked with the chipping agent. So for this, I'll be using just water and Q-tips and going over the areas that I put the AK Interactive on. So it's pretty simple. You'll see just how easy it is. As you can slowly see, it's starting to make the outline. Just barely. You don't really got to apply much pressure at all, and just keep running the water over it. Let it soak in for a minute. I'll jump back over here. None of it's kind of broke loose just yet, but oh, there it goes. See if it's going to work like I hoped it would work. Looks like it is. Never really tried it with a stencil like this before. I figured it would look cool nonetheless. It's starting to come through up here. Hoping one of the tips of the star will come through, because that'll really define it. Make it look really cool. Should be... There's part of it there. You can see. There's part of it there. It's wanting to come off there, but it's probably going to be up on this. Should have some right here. Yeah, there it is. Slowly starting to come through. There we are. It's almost like you can almost make it out. Now, if you did this on a much flatter surface, I think it would worked a little bit better. Again, like I said, this is my model, so it was pretty much like an experiment. Um, so it's all good if it doesn't. It started to work pretty good right there. I mean, if you can see it, you can pretty much see a lot of the star. It's coming off really well right through there. Let me look at the stencil real fast above it. Should be, yeah, it should be a longer star. It should go way up through here. There we go. Starting to come out now. Now it's really starting to make shape. So, it did just about exactly what I wanted it to do. Better blow some of that off. Well. Break out the old regular Patriot. You can pretty much see the outline of the star. It's close. I'll work on this one back here a little bit more. This one should be fairly large chunks coming off on it. I know there was some up through this way that had just come off regular. But it's once I start throwing the oils on there, it's gonna look really cool. That's something else that's really easy to use that most people get really intimidated by. But there's some tricks. There's some cheats. And by cheats, I mean these guys right here. It's oil brushers. By MIG. Awesome stuff. You'll learn more about those in coming videos. Now I've got like regular chips and stuff like that to pull off, and then I'll swap to the other side. Just going to give that a second and let it sit and let the chemicals reaction with the water do its thing. I tend to puddle up a little bit of water in the area and just let it sit there for a second. If you try to do it too fast, then you burn through the paint and it doesn't give that natural rusted chip look. Something I had to learn from trial and error myself. But just let that sit for a second, and then we'll start removing the paint. One thing you don't want to do is get in a hurry when you're doing this. Or apply too much pressure because you could blow directly through all the paint and straight onto the resin. Now, if that happens, it's not the end of the world. It's just a pain in the butt you got to fix. Just going to load a little bit more water up. It's being a little bit more stubborn right there in that section, but hopefully it won't be much longer. We'll be able to have it all revealed. All right, well, me never doing this before. This was just totally just a experiment. But I would figured I'd share it with you guys anyhow. Well, you can see it as it unfolds. But you can do it. You're just going to have a little bit better outcome if you're doing it on a flat surface. But this side looks pretty good. This side came out rather well, I think. That one, I just can't get this one to come off any more than it already has. It's being super stubborn. So I'll just go ahead and... This one started to come out pretty good, but that's whatever. I'll just go ahead and start removing the rest of the rust here and there on it. I'm using a stiff dry brush that I've had for a little while. It's really super stiff. So I'll load it up with water and just take it all over the same area. And the way I sprayed it was just to get spurts all over here, there, and everywhere. So you can see that it's just it'll come off with the brush too. Just gotta get the area load up with water, and then it'll rub right off. You can use a really stiff toothbrush as well. That works just as good. Now, even though I'm doing this tank white, it's going to be a white tank. I'm going to weather the bejesus out of it, and it won't be very bright. Like right now, it's really bright, but then I still got to go in and from this stage, I'll paint everything that needs to be painted. I won't highlight anything. I won't any of that. I'll paint like the silver outlining or gold or whichever what I choose to do on it. I'll paint everything like the fuel tank, the the mufflers, the trench rails. I'll paint the inside of that black. So I'll get it all like a basic form, a basic paint job. And then I'll come back over the whole tank with some streaking grime. This stuff is really magic stuff. All it is basically is burnt umber. So I mean, you could make this with burnt umber, I guess. But this is already ready to go. I thin it down. Once this is all, I've done all my chipping, I'll paint everything that needs to be painted, like I said, in its basic form. Then I'll seal the tank again. If I do any decals, I won't be doing any decals on this one. But if I do put decals on, I'll put them on and then seal it again, and then I'll come in with the AK. But this will give it a beat up, dirt, grimy look that I want to have for my cultist. Well, my militia. Let me rephrase that. Forgot one of the Aquillas, but even though I've chopped that down to bare resin, it's not that big of a deal. What I'll do is I'll come back over with some paint. I'll cover it with some paint and make it fade away into the weathered and beat up tank. Because I mean it's starting to look the part right now. So whenever I start laying on the weathering powders and I start laying on just the oils, it's really gonna look beat up, and that's what I want. Let that sit for a second, but it's slowly but surely it's coming together. Kind of bummed out that the stars didn't come through as well as I'd like them to, but I mean it was an experiment. I mean it's on a flat surface. I don't think there'd be any issues. I think it would have came through with no issues. But this side's really good. So 1 out of 4 is not too bad, I guess. The idea was cool, but it can still be executed. It's just going to take some refinement. So, I guess that's about as much as I'm going to go ahead and chip off. I could probably get a little bit more if I worked at it, but I don't want it to be completely beat all up. I think it looks pretty good. It's got enough chips on it. Get this dried off, and I'll have to let it sit, and then I will. Actually, I'll go ahead and seal it, and then I'll go ahead and paint everything, and go from there. So it's a slow process. Slow process when it comes to weathering and really detail weathering the fire out of stuff. But we'll go ahead and wrap this up. We're cruising in on the 30-minute mark. And again, this one's free. This video's I'm not charging nobody for this video. It was just something that I had to wait in order to show you guys how it was going to look, and I didn't want to drag out that video sitting around doing nothing. The video I just uploaded. So again, this one will be free. I'll upload it, and you can see just how to do weathering with the chipping fluids and see the end result of the stencil. Well, not end result, because the end result's still to come. I've still got probably another 2 hours, 3 hours in this tank until it's done. But I'll upload those pictures on the Black Label Painting page, so you guys can check it out from there. Now, guys, I really appreciate you. I can't say that enough. I really appreciate my Patreons. So I will continue to upload more content this month. The next video I'll upload will more than likely be how I paint black, and then we're going to squeeze in how I paint metals, and then the faster way of painting large tiles like the Zone Mortalis, or if I had a little bit more time, I might try to squeeze in the large stronghold that Forge World sells, that tile. I've got one of those as well I could blow out. And I just use spray paints on the majority of that. I'll just, you spray paint it, and then you come back and do detail work. But it really speeds up those large projects for you. But again, thank you guys. If you have any suggestions for things that you want me to try to see, how I do them, then just drop me a message on my Black Label Painting page, and make sure you put in there that you're a Patreon and you're curious about X or curious about Y, and I'll see if I can't work it in for you guys. All right, well, I thank you guys, and catch y'all on the next one.